Hello, BookTube. Today, we're going to do an activity that I rather like. None of my friends seem to like it, but when I read, and again, I'm not saying there's any right way of reading, but I like to dissect a work, especially if it's well crafted and you can tell that the author really put care into it. So today, we're going to dissect the first chapter of the Contortionist Handbook by Craig Clevenger. This is the old, out of print version. It's been reprinted. I forget who it's reprinted by. I'll try to remember to link the new one down below. It's very good. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over and dissect the first chapter. Okay. And keep in mind that you need a little bit of some context here. Our main character suffers from migraines, so he has to medicate. And this leads to problems, because sometimes he overdoes it. I'm a little bit, how do I put it? The one part where I kind of I can't suspend my disbelief is I suffer from migraines. And painkillers that I've taken, I hate to admit this, but it's important that we be honest. I use painkillers. If anything, they cause a migraine, right? If anything, they cause migraines. Granted, I'm not a connoisseur of all things painkillers. Hey, I'm no angel. Nobody's an angel. We've all done things that we're not proud of, and I'm not either proud or not proud of pills that I've taken. The point being is, drugging yourself to take away a migraine, at least in my experience, isn't a good way of doing it. But again, maybe I'm wrong. That's just my own limited experience. Let's get on to the important thing, less about me and more about chapter 1. That's all I'm going to read, chapter 1, just so we can get a flavor for the book. I can count my overdoses on one hand, so we can stop there. And we can notice something, right? We can notice that just from that, he either A, has a really, really good memory, or B, it doesn't happen very much, or both, right? Either he does it a lot, and he's got like almost an eidetic memory, or it hasn't happened very much. But the times it does happen, he remembers. Let's see which it'll be. August 1985, Percocet. The 5 milligram tablets were identical to the 325 milligram tablets, which were identical to the generic laxatives. So notice what's going on in that sentence, right? It's a comparison to a comparison to a comparison, right? That's interesting. I was in no shape for fine print. ER, 3 ounces of Ipecac. Okay, Ipecac. You don't hear about that much, so for the younger people who may watch, you take Ipecac to vomit. If you take too many pills or you take the wrong medication, right? Suppose you have like a kid and they drink probably not pool cleaner, but what's something that kids would eat that you want to make them vomit? It makes you vomit. That's my point. You take Ipecac and it makes you vomit. Okay, so let's go back up. 3 ounces of Ipecac and solid heaves of poison and binder, 37 ounces of 37 hours of cramps and shitting blood. Okay, his first overdose. He remembers it very vividly, right? Which you would expect, right? You would expect to remember kind of a traumatic experience that's out of the ordinary. Now, I'm going to date myself, but obviously you can tell by the older demeanor, I ain't a young man. I remember a lot of the day on 9/11, 2001. I was in high school. I remember big chunks of that day, big flashes of memory. I remember I was late to school, and I was worried I was late to school, so I rushed to get there. I just so happened to be stricken with diarrhea. Ah, fuck. Now I gotta go into the stall and be even more late. Then I go into class, and something's off. I don't know what's off. Something is off, though. And so on and so forth. Okay. So, the next overdose. February 1986. Methylcarbinol. Carbinol. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Yellow carpets, bright like a child's crayon sunscape. Those 5 pills stopped my heart, and I saw the brain seizure tunnel of light before the EMTs shocked my head back. They billed me $160 for the jolt. Something I forgot to mention is the varying sentence lengths, right? So in the first paragraph, we had a lot of staccato sentences. And then now we varied up with longer ones, right? It's good to vary up your prose. Okay. And also, $160 back in 1986, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money now, given the current economic conditions. Okay, next one. June 1986, Demerol and 32 aspirin reopening the damage I did when I was 14. November 1986, a busy year. Vicodin. Imagine waking up to your morning stomach knot and subsequent rituals. And then we get a list. Shower, coffee, traffic, talk radio, hell, home, drink. So what's the implication? What do we read between the lines here? Well, we can read between the lines of why somebody would want to take Vicodin or any drug, drink, heroin, cocaine, whatever it might be, is you're stuck in this nightmare loop, this Mobius strip of terror, nightmare, which is the daily routine, right? Shower, coffee, traffic, talk radio, hell, home, drink. And what is hell? Hell is work. 8 hours of bullshit. For most people, they don't have meaningful work. Some people get lucky, but let's be fucking real. Most people, they don't have meaningful work. Okay. Okay, so then next paragraph. But you remember that it's Sunday. That 4-second blast of relief is what Vicodin feels like for 6 hours. But overdose and you're heaving blanks, a pair of fists wringing your stomach like a damp rag. The imagery, right? Trails of warm spit hanging from your mouth while you try to move your limbs but can't. Words hit your brain like garbage churning in a breakwater. No order, no connection. Fingers, name, here. Now, this could easily describe a drug overdose, which has happened to me. And it can also describe a migraine. A migraine, at least the ones I experience, you're all jumbled. Hard time putting things into in order, your words get all jumbled, you can't find the right concepts, right? It's all fuzzy and hazy up here, and you're like a walking zombie. So notice that this could double, right? This could act as a double, as a description of a drug overdose, but also a migraine. Okay. February 1987, Daverset and a pint of bourbon. Don't mix painkillers and alcohol. It'll absolutely obliterate your liver. Just a pro tip. I'm not advocating you do either. I'm just saying, if you do, pick one and don't mix them, right? It'll compound the effects, but it'll also just obliterate your liver. Yesterday, August 17, 1987, Carisoprodol, I'm sure I mispronounced that, comes in a white tablet like a big ass vitamin, 250 milligrams of muscle liquefier for those tense, recovering athletes and furniture movers. Too much, and those relaxed muscles include your diaphragm, then your heart. It feels like drowning or a sumo wrestler sitting on your chest. So he's talking about a downer, right? Something like heroin is a downer. It depresses the respiratory system. So that's why if you take, for example, too much heroin, stop breathing. It depresses respiratory function. So he's talking about that. And then, of course, sitting on, like a sumo wrestler sitting on your chest. I mean, that's what? A heart attack? I'm assuming. Never had one, thankfully. Let's hope I keep it that way. It feels like, okay, I read that. I've done 3 rails of blow to keep my heart from stopping before the paralysis sets in. But they hadn't been enough. So apparently he's trying to do what a lot of, let's just say, drug enthusiasts do. Is, how do I put this? There's a lot of irrationalities that happen in people that do drugs. I've known some of the crazy things that people have done. They'll be like, oh, I'm gonna, if I do crank tonight, I'll just exercise, a couple hours extra in the morning. Okay. Doesn't make sense, right? In this case, what he's talking about is doing an upper, is mixing to counteract the downer. Alcohol is a downer, as apparently is this, sorry, I got something in my nose. Sorry about that. As apparently is this other drug. He's combining 2 downers. So now he's going to take an upper, which wakes you up, right? Kind of makes you more alert, right? I think caffeine is an upper. Cocaine, kind of to kickstart your heart. You can think of the Motley Crue song, Kickstart My Heart. What's that about? Doing cocaine, right? Okay, let's continue. That's how Rasputin found me. Interesting name, Rasputin. Okay. Molly's cat, 14 pounds of... Actually, before I do that, before I go on, before I go to... Notice what's being established here. What's being established might seem boring, might seem like you're not really drawing me in, but Craig is drawing you in. Because what you see is a character that's not very likable, which is fine. I write almost only unlikable characters, right? Or at least deeply flawed ones. And one way you can get somebody to bond or connect with an unlikable character is to show either incompetence, so it's kind of funny, right? They're unlikable but you read on because they're incompetent and they keep fucking things up. So it's interesting, right? Or by showing that they know a lot of something, a lot about something, right? So think about Hannibal Lecter, right? Just a riveting character, not very likable, but he knows a lot, right? He's a master manipulator. I mean, you all know about Hannibal. I would hope. If you don't, you should. This guy seems to encompass both. He's kind of incompetent. He keeps overdoing it because we get from 85, we get multiple overdoses in 2 to 3 years. So he's kind of incompetent, but he knows a lot about these drugs. He kind of knows the interactions with them. He can remember them well, so he knows a lot about drugs. So he's competent in that way. So even though he's not likable, you get the sense that he's smart, but not too smart. Not smart to the point where you think, that's not Mary Sue. I don't like that term, Mary Sue. I forget the name, but he's not overconfident where he's like too perfect, right? No, he's smart, but not too smart. Okay, now let's continue. That's how Rasputin found me. And what do we mean by found him? Well, passed out, right? After a drug overdose, his latest drug overdose. And who is Rasputin? Molly's cat. 14 pounds of modded fur. She adopted him after the collision with the passenger side Bridgestone of a speeding pickup. Rasputin was blind and nearly toothless from the accident. His remaining incisors jutted out 90 degrees from his mouth. He ate soft food. He would howl and stare at you with two transparent orbs of eye gel. Eye gel. See, an interesting way to describe something, right? So again, we're showing that this guy knows a lot about this cat, that he doesn't just have passing familiarity, but also the way it's described, right? Translucent orbs of eye gel. That's not usually how you describe eyes, right? It's kind of an unsettling image. And this is another interesting way of kind of playing with language, is to describe things in unusual ways, particular to that character. And this is what Craig does. He does well, right? You get this in spades with Craig. Well, where was I? With eye gel. The flaps of dislodged retina hovering inside. I used to shut off the lights and hold him while he purred, put a flashlight to his face and look through his dead marble eyes and see his brain. Unsettling. Molly got mad when I did that. So you get the idea that this guy is also kind of, I don't want to say freak, but, kind of a weirdo. I tried to sit up, lift the weight of my ribs from my lungs, but I couldn't. Couldn't curl my fingers or move my lips. Couldn't stop my tongue from sliding backward and clogging my neck. Wanted to sleep, but forced myself to breathe. A mechanical wheeze that cut through my fog. I lay on my back. A lance of orange twilight stabbed me square in the face through a slice of curtain where the gaffer's tape had come loose. Rasputin howled for attention and licked my face until the sandpaper tongue burned through my stupor. A loud purr, the noise of a slow-motion wasp in my ear. He settled onto my sternum, sandbag heavy. The walls of my lungs stayed touching. Okay, so he's dying, right? I mean, we clearly get the notion that he's in the death throes. Now, obviously, we know he's not going to die, or this would be a very short book. But he's dying, right? He's describing what it's like to die, even though he doesn't die, but he's in the process. Sounds, door, handbag hitting the carpet, Rasputin's weight gone, and a merciful rush of sweet, sweet air. Molly's voice, baby, oh God, baby. I remember my eyes being peeled open, a blurry face, plastered ceiling over the shoulder, words chopped and scattered into the white noise seashell blast of static, shredded pheromones landing in and out of sequence. President R. Much Day name. So we're getting his mental state clearly with these staccato sentence, just words, right? President R. Much Day name. We're getting he's clearly he's overdosed, but he can't put words together. He can barely kind of he's barely conscious, which raises a question, right? This has to be an account after the fact, right? This has to be a post hoc recounting of what's happening, where he constructs a narrative around what's going on. This can't be happening. Forget, present tense, past tense. I'm just saying, just notice that this guy's dying. He's overdosed. He can't put words together, but yet he's telling you all of this, right? He's not telling you in the moment. He can't. He physically cannot tell you in the moment. He can't string words together in a coherent way. Okay, so we're implicitly getting an after the fact account. The electro-padded blast horse kicked to my chest, and I'm awake beneath nylon gurney straps, breathing into plastic muzzle and being carted down the flight of stairs outside my front door. Clearly, an ambulance came, right? Okay. Best I can, I repeat the drill in my head. My name is Daniel Fletcher. I was born November 6, 1961. I had a headache, and it won't stop. I had some painkillers. They weren't working, and I took too many. Now, why does he have to rehearse his name? How often do you forget your name? Assuming he's rehearsing a persona, right? He's trying to remember, right? I mean, we get that. This is the implication here. The implication is I have an identity, and it's different from who I am. And it's important that I maintain this identity for some reason, but it's very important, apparently. And you'll find out if you read the whole book why it's so important. Open my eyes. Where are you taking me? But my words are a numbed mumble of bloated syllables and split foam covered with an oxygen mask. Dream coma blur. Dream coma blur. Ooh, that's a nice way to describe either kind of. That's also a nice way to describe, that moment when you're kind of half awake, half asleep. When you're kind of half in a dream, half out of it. You know what I'm talking about? Dream coma blur. It's kind of a nice way to describe that as well. That's not a dark blue medic's jacket. It's a dark blue suit. Then there's Jimmy's face, right over mine. I got it all wrong. Must have lost some hours because they're not taking me down a flight of stairs. They're lowering me into the dirt, eliminating my position, phasing me out. I'm thinking, at least I'll be asleep when they bury me. So it could be worse. But then I wonder what they'll do with Molly. And it is worse. Too weak to panic. My eyes collapse into dark. Here's what happened. And then you get these nice, and Craig did a great job. And I talked to Craig, and he actually looked over how you construct medical reports. And he's got a couple medical reports, fake medical reports in here. And they're very interesting, right? Like, they read just like you would imagine a medical report would read. And he's got these scattered throughout the book, and they're very good. But that's the first chapter of The Contortionist Handbook by Craig Clevenger. Let me hold this up right so I can be a proper booktuber. Again, what a beautiful scene. And thank you so much for being along to indulge me as I dissect, and hopefully I'm not talking out of my ass too much. I felt rejuvenated after a nice shower to run my mouth on here. So that's what I got for you. I'm probably not going to upload a video every day, but I felt in the mood. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Peace.